see the question that you had with 10 years. Because 10 years is a long-term planning. At the end of the day, I have to tell you, and it was mentioned, the Minister of Tourism from Mexico, a lot of times she plans short-term. Because the politicians, they go and come, and they want to see short-term results. They want to demonstrate that we create jobs short-term at the end of the day, right? But that's when you have to engage with the private sector. And that's when you have to engage with the communities. That's what we call PPC. It's not only the public sector responsible for this. The private sector has to be part of the solution, and the community has to be part of the solution. And together, they have to plan for the best for that destination. They need to consider, okay, these are the needs, this is where we see ourselves in 10 years or 5 years, let's make a plan that works for everyone. So planning is crucial, and that's up to the local citizens and the private sector to make sure that they engage with the different levels of the government, because even with the government we have the local government, the state or regional, and then of course the federal government. Then we need to look about the product. How do we diversify? How do we move some people away from one case to another way, from one city to another city? Because the reality is that you go to destinations, and I don't know about you, but I have been in destinations, and it's exactly the same tour, exactly the same places to see. There is no product development, and we need to do that product development. We need to move people around. Let me give you one example. In my time in the government in Mexico, perhaps you never heard about this, but we wanted to diversify. We were promoting Cancun, sun and beach, and suddenly we discovered the end of the Maya calendar. And we came up with the Maya route that was talking about the end of the Maya calendar. Have you heard about the Maya calendar ever? That was an initiative that we created to diversify and move some people outside of Cancun to Tulum, to Riviera, to Yucatan, to other destinations, and have some other things to promote: the culture, the adventure, learn more about the Mayas, museums. That's product diversification, and that's something that the governments do very well with the private sector. Then encourage people to visit different places, at different things, at different times. This is another one that I think is very important in terms of product. Technology. Margot will give you a couple of examples, but there's a lot of great technology out there that is being used today. She'll talk about Amsterdam, very interesting case, and also the successful cases about involving communities. This is a photo, it's supposed to be Miami Beach, that's Fisher Island, Miami Beach is on the other side. I was living there for 4 years. It's the largest home port in the world. I don't know if you're aware of that. They have a lot of cruises, they come, the largest home port in the world, and the second one is very close, Fort Lauderdale. It's a pretty big destination. The Miami airport receives sometimes more international arrivals than JFK, New York. Pretty big. I lived in Miami Beach for 4 years, never ever felt overcrowded, never ever felt over tourism. Why is that? Because of the engagement of the community, because they use the technology to communicate. Whenever we were going to have, for instance, the Memorial Weekend, they were communicating to the neighbors, this is what's going on, in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, this is going to happen, be prepared, take your precautions, and people were part of that. They wanted to build a new convention center, we had to vote and decide yes or no. So there are things to learn from other cases. That doesn't mean that this is the best. Again, every case is unique. Every case is different. We need to understand every case. But at the end of the day, it's up to us to be part of the solution, because we have two options here. Do nothing about it and let them talk bad about tourism, or take advantage of the opportunities and the jobs that we can continue creating and making sure that everyone is enjoying tourism, not only the visitors, but also the local people. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It is a pleasure for me to be here, and now I'm going to turn it to Margot. Thank you.